Hi guys, it's Stacey from Clothes Live On, and today we are going to talk about my first month as a full-time reseller. So as of July 1st, I have been reselling for a full month as a full-time reseller. It's really exciting. It's been a journey. It's been interesting since I traveled. I mean, if you watch my vlogs, you saw a lot of it along the way, but there's some things I didn't talk about, like a lot of numbers. Like you saw packages going out. I even discussed like what they sold for and stuff, but that isn't necessarily a reflection on profits at all. So I thought we would talk about that without giving specific numbers, because honestly, like I don't think that's what's important here. I know that might be what you're curious about, but I was more open with sharing my numbers as a part-time seller versus now like this is just my income. And I don't know how many of you are going to go around and tell everyone what you make at your job. Probably not most of you. So I don't really want to do that either. I did ask for some questions on Instagram, so I have a few of those to answer after I just talk about my overall thoughts. So for me, it's amazing to be my own boss. I enjoy that aspect of it. Honestly, like the last week or so though, I've had trouble getting into a groove. So in that sense, like if I slack off, I'm only accountable to myself. There's not actually someone coming up and like scolding me for not doing my work. I'm not a nanny anymore, so there's not kids being neglected if I don't do anything. So in that sense, like there can be a temptation to be lazy, but when I want to work, oh my gosh, work will get done. And I actually find myself working a little bit of longer hours, but I also can give myself more flexibility and more like breaks during the day, which that's really nice because I can step away when I feel like I need to step away and like give myself a little mental break. And then also I find myself like uploading the pictures to my listings that I draft while I watch TV. So then it's kind of a mindless activity. I'm enjoying myself while I'm working. So that's really fun. I've really enjoyed that. I'm still trying to kind of find my rhythm. I'd like to get into batch working. Ideally for me, I think I want to have like, I'll do a bunch of sourcing all at once, and then I want to like spend a whole day measuring an entire haul's worth so that basically I never have a death pile anymore. I'd like to like measure the whole haul one day. The next day I'll photograph the whole haul, or like if I can get it measured before like a day's worth of work, then I will measure and photograph, and then draft a bunch of listings after that, and then I can get them listed up the rest of the week. Kind of the only issue with this is that Poshmark only allows 15 drafts, so I'd have to do like most of my drafts on eBay. I don't know. I'm really hoping that one day Poshmark will allow us to have more drafts. I think 15 is just a ridiculously low number. That's what I try and list in a single day. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. I'd like to start batch working and get into a better flow, because right now I'm basically like, if I'm listing 15 items, I am measuring those 15 items, I'm steaming what needs to be steamed, I'm photographing it, I'm drafting it, and then I'm listing it all in one day. So I'm really like jumping from task to task. I'm doing each little task all at once, but then I just have to rinse and repeat the next day. So like I said, I'd rather like spend one whole day measuring everything that I have, and then spend the next whole day photographing. Photographing is pretty quick, so it would probably be like photographing / listing, or drafting, I guess. You get the idea. That's where I'd like to be at, is just a routine that's more productive. Spend a day making YouTube videos where I can make like 4 at once, and then I am set for the month if I'm releasing 1 video a week, or even if I want to do 2 videos a week. You get the idea. I would like to start batch working more. I think that would make me more efficient and hopefully more profitable then. In terms of like my sales, they were okay. I think I sourced quite a bit, but I also sold a decent amount, but my profits were honestly not good. I feel like I did 3 times the amount of work, but I actually made less than I made some months as a part-time reseller. I just, being blatantly honest, I made less than I did in like January. January was my best month ever. and I made less money. And that's not even, it's not even like, oh, this was my second best month ever. No, it was not my second best month either. It just like wasn't a great month. June wasn't good. I did have Oscillaty reach out to me on Instagram because she saw me talking about this in a post, and she said she doesn't know anyone who didn't have a bad June. That's actually really reassuring to me, because it's easy to feel like a failure if you didn't get where you expected to be. So my husband's kind of goal for me, he said, as long as I could pay the rent, which I did make enough to pay our rent. That's not where I wanted to be. I would have liked to be double that, to it being more of a like realistic salary, but honestly even that's not good, considering like you have to factor like taxes are going to come out of that. But that's where I would have liked to have been for my first month, knowing that like I was putting in a lot of hours. I got like 3 times the amount of listings up that I normally would in a month. I just did a ton of work, but I didn't really reap a lot of benefits for that. I mean, I think summer slowdown is definitely a thing. Last year, my sales picked back up a lot in August. So even if July is another hard month, I'm hoping August will be like the saving grace month. But again, I was out of town for 2 weeks or week and a half of June. That also made it hard. I did list stuff in a second closet, so like kind of help myself some. But my month just would have been worse without that. It didn't really save it from being a bad month. It was definitely a bad month. There's no way of getting around that. It was not a good month. It was not anything like I would have expected it to be. And if I don't see a pickup in what my sales are, like, you know, I'm gonna give it a little more time. But like, if this is a consistent thing, if this is going on for like 6 months, I can't resell full time anymore. That's not realistic in terms of like what we need to be bringing in. We're going to be buying probably a house next summer. There's just a lot of factors where we're not trying to cut my income as much as we did in June. It was not good. I think I just picked a bad month to go full time though, honestly. Like June and December are pretty rough months, although July probably a rough month also. That's just my thoughts. It was not a good month. I am hopeful going forward though. I'm not going to let it get me down. It's just not what I wanted it to be. But I still enjoyed it. I had a good time. I love working for myself, trying to get in a better flow, all of that. All right, so let's answer some of your questions. First question I got is, how long did it take for things to pick up for you? They haven't picked up for me in terms of like, I'm putting in more time and I'm listing more. My sales haven't picked up from that. But I will say, if I was doing it part-time, obviously my sales would have been even worse. I would not have listed nearly 300 items. I probably would have listed like 50 to 100 items was kind of my average as a part-time seller. And I would have made like no money in June, which it didn't matter when I was part-time because it was just extra money. But I do try and keep that in perspective. Like, I did so much work, and obviously it just would have been way worse if I hadn't done that work. So they haven't picked up yet, but we will see. Next question is, how long have you sold on Poshmark? This is a 2-part question. I started selling on Poshmark in March of 2017. So I guess we're coming up on 2.5 years in September. How long did it take you to become full-time? A little over 2 years. So that varies for people. I think a lot of people kind of get to the point where they are starting to feel okay with it around like the 2 to 3 year mark. But honestly, like, that depends on your job. So my friend Emily H. Munn has said she probably will never go full-time because she makes a good salary. So reselling, it would be really hard for her to make more money reselling than at her current job. So there's that for her. For me, I was a nanny. I was getting like raises yearly, but I was only going to go so far with that. I was paying my own health insurance out of pocket anyway, which I have to do now also. So nothing changed in that aspect. I did get 1 week of paid vacation, and then I got paid sick days as a nanny. I feel like I got a paid vacation because when I went to Seattle, I was still making money. So that was, you know, that's a benefit. And then I can still make sales on sick days. So I feel like I kind of have paid days, but there is still an expectation that I'm doing some work. So hard to say. Like, I didn't give myself like a true vacation where I was just enjoying the city. I was working while I was there. It wasn't like a vacation where you just kick back and do nothing. So, you know, there's that. But yeah, so for me, like, I think it was an easier transition because of the job that I was coming from. I was coming from a job that I wasn't making like the most money ever. I think I made decent money for what I did, but childcare only is going to bring in so much money. It's never going to be like an IT person salary. So yeah, this was an easier transition for me to make because I didn't have the benefits of a traditional job, and my salary wasn't like anything out of this world. I think it was pretty good, but I truly think that if I work really hard at reselling, I can make more money reselling than I did as a nanny. Just not there yet. All right, next question. Do you find that you focus more on bookkeeping as a full-time reseller? And honestly, I don't. Maybe I should. I do, like, I think bookkeeping is important. You need to know what your numbers are. You need to be accountable for yourself. But as a full-time reseller, if I look at my numbers too much, it can put me in a funk. If I see that I'm not doing as well as I want to be, I'm gonna feel bad about myself. I'm gonna feel down. It's gonna put me in a really bad headspace. But if I see that I'm doing really well, I might be inclined to slack off because I think I'm doing great. I might feel like, oh, I don't even need to put in the extra work. So I want to keep up with my numbers like weekly in terms of like putting in my expenses, putting in what has sold and all of that into my monthly chart. But I'm not necessarily looking at my totals along the way. I definitely want to look at my totals like toward the end of the month and know if I should like run a sale in my Poshmark closet. Like if I'm behind where I want to be, I want to try and do something to drive more sales into my closet, and I need to know how necessary that is. How steep of a sale do I need to run to try and bring my numbers back in? So if you're following me in my first month, I ran a half off sale right before I went to Seattle because my numbers were not good and I was aware of that. And honestly, that sale helped tremendously. Not enough for me to have a great month, but it really did bring in quite a few sales for me. So I'm bookkeeping enough to like be conscious of if I need to be doing something to really try and create more sales, but not enough where I want it to mess with my like mental thoughts about myself and my business. Yeah, I hope that answers that question well enough. So like, I'm not necessarily looking at them more. I'm keeping up with them enough. But when I was part-time, it's fun to see what you've made that month because it's all just extra money. And this is like do or die for me now. So I don't want to let it affect my mood too much. All right, and then the last question I got is, when did you start selling consistently? Does it depend on followers, listings, or shares? I want to say it took me like 5 or 6 months, probably somewhere in there, to start selling consistently. And that was, you know, coming from being a new reseller where I had everything to learn. I will say that it does not depend on followers. I don't think that makes a huge difference. You should actively be following people. I think that's just a good thing to do, especially if you have a newer closet. It depends some on listings. Definitely the more you have, the more there's people like is for people to choose from, so they're more likely to find something in your closet. People can bundle more if they're similar sizes. I think I saw like a jump in sales when I went over 200 active listings, and I'm coming up on 400 right now. I did not see a big jump when I got to 300. 200 was really it for me, but I feel like I have a new perspective since I made a travel closet and I started from scratch again, and I was making daily sales in that closet. So I didn't have a following really. I did follow a bunch of people, so I think I'm over like 2,000 followers in that closet now, but you know, I started with nothing. So what is the key to you making daily sales is having desirable items. So since I'm an experienced seller, I knew what I wanted to be picking up at thrift stores. So when I got around to listing them, I was listing things that people wanted to buy. Therefore, I made daily sales. But also sharing is definitely important. You want to be sharing at least once a day, ideally like 3 times a day. sharing to parties. I think parties aren't as important. Share to your following, which goes to your followers feed, but it also bumps you to the top of search results. So if someone searches for a yellow Lululemon tank, yours will go to the top if you just shared it, versus if 15 people share it right after you, yours is now the 16th listing that's going to pop up with that exact search result. So yeah, honestly, the most important thing you can do is list desirable items. That means styles and brands, and then share your closet. That's really how you're going to get consistent sales. That is a learning process. Like, what to pick up is the biggest learning curve that you're going to have in reselling, but it's the most important thing you can do. Follow other resellers, see what they're picking up, learn the brands, study popular websites like Revolve. Revolve is a really hot website right now. Any brand on there is probably something you want to be picking up. Look at the styles that are selling for them, go under their best sellers. Really just, if you're picking up desirable items and you're listing daily, that's another big thing. Listing daily, or at least like 5 out of 7 days. If you're listing, you will also like see more traffic coming to your closets. So that's just what you got to do. Pick up good stuff, list often, if not daily, and then share your closet daily, and you will see consistent sales. I promise. That's the secret sauce to it. Yeah, I'm rambling now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Here's hoping July is better for me and for you, because I'm betting you had a rough June too. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you later. Bye.